Hi again, my name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit different. This video is going to be all of my higher dollar sales for March of this year. Um, I dipped it a little bit lower. I think at first January or something I did like $50 and up. February I took it down to $30 just because sales have been a little bit slow and I wasn't selling a whole lot of higher dollar stuff. March I went ahead and took it down to $25, basically because I wanted to show a few things that I had sold in that price range instead of keeping it at the $30. Just probably one of my favorite sales of the March, and it didn't qualify for 30, so I thought I'll just take it down to 25 because $25 for plush or an individual clothing item, that's not that bad either. So for those of you who are new, these videos I'm trying to put out once a month, but I'm a little bit behind because I started late on these. But I'm just going to be sharing, it's a repeat because I do my what solds every week and show you a lot of the sales that I have. But I wanted to show for those people who, want to stick with higher dollar stuff and not see all of the bread and butter. I wanted to show the sales that I made each month, like the next month. But like I said, I'm a little bit behind. And it's a good time right now. We're heading in, knocked my labels. We're heading into yard sale season. They've been terrible here. But, this is just a reminder of things that you can be looking for. And for this month, it'll be the things that I sold $25 and up. I've got a nice collection from Etsy to share with you, and then I'll show you the stuff on eBay. First thing that I sold in March that was over $25 was this Perfection by MJC. It was a mango orange cat. I like that brand. I don't find it very often, but this one sold for $30.55. I bought like 5 of these, I believe, at an estate sale. I want to say I paid like $5 each, maybe. I don't quite remember. These are by an artist named Janie Katz. She used like metal from old vehicles to make these different shapes of animals. This one was made from a 1961 Dodge van, and it sold for $53.95. It was just a cute little beaver. Russ Rutherford monkey plush. It's a thumbsucker. Anytime I find them, I pick them up. They tend to sell very quickly for me. This one sold for $26.95. These were listed forever. I was glad to see them finally sell. Just odd that I sold, glasses, tumblers on Etsy. They were by Libby. The design was called Fruitful Times, and it sold for $38.65. Picked this up at the Sasha estate sale. It was the only one. They were selling them for $5 each. It was the only one worth picking up at that price. I think this is the one that sells for the most in this series. It's Kenner Star Wars Buddies Max Rebo from 1997. It sold very quickly on Etsy for $35.95. Picked these up when we were in Missouri at a thrift store in Hannibal. This was Micro Machines. This was the city that was inside of a toolbox from 1988, and it sold for $26.95. Golden Girl Talk Dateline game. It was untested. Let me see, what did I write here? Box has wear fading damage. Sold for $31.45. I was going to show you. This is what it looked like. I don't think I was able to test that part right there that says, looks like a telephone. Anytime I find the Home Buddies, I pick them up. They are by Russ. They're like little terry cloth plush Some of them are bread and butter, and then there's others like this Ringo dog plush that sold for $35.95. And last but not least, this is Kindergund. They've got an interesting tag. Looks like that. This is from 1986. It is a 15-inch bear plush with a rattle, and it sold on Etsy for $62.95. And then on eBay, weird sweatshirt. I think it was part of like a fill-a-bag. I know it took like 2 years to sell, but it ended up selling for $25. It was an ultra sweatshirt with the little cat logo and cat paws on it. All right, this was an Easter fiber optic light up toy. Again, it was an old listing, but it finally did sell for $25. That little ring up there makes me think where it says $14.99. Maybe it was something that was from Cracker Barrel. That just kind of gives me that kind of idea. Probably not something I would pick up again just because it was larger and, you know, you got to pack a box in a box and that type of stuff. And then it took forever. Very, very quick sell. I think it lists, let's see, it says I listed it March 13th and it sold that same month. I'm thinking it was the same day. This is Fisher-Price Eraser. There's one that goes to the Sesame Street playset, and then there's also one that goes with the desk. I just made sure I use all of those keywords to make sure you're getting the buyer who, you know, may be looking up the desk, trying to find the replacement eraser or the Sesame Street set. Mine actually had really good foam on it. Not perfect, but a lot of times it's like totally disintegrated. And it sold very quickly for me for $25 also. Play School Lincoln Logs, railroad tracks. A lot of times if I buy a large lot of Lincoln Logs or I find them in the bins, I tend to pick up them, but I don't normally sell the blocks with the tracks. The tracks tend to do pretty good for me, and this set sold for $25. Dakin Brown Bear Plush, $25.16. American Girl Bitty Baby Dolls. I love finding the American Girl dolls, but unless you got one of the older ones, they just are taking longer to sell, and they're not selling for as much as they used to. Again, this is one of, I think she's one of the twin Bitty Baby dolls, but I think going forward, I may start passing on them because, you know, they're large, they take up a lot of space, and they're just not selling like they used to. Now the clothes, yeah, I'll pick up clothes anytime. But this doll finally sold for $26. Pretty Pretty Princess board game. It was complete. No, not complete. See, I almost messed that up right there. Not complete. It was missing 2 of the rings. I thought about parting it out, and then I just decided to keep it all together and just note that those 2 pieces were missing. And it sold for $26. American Eagle. We're selling a lot of that brand. These were flare corduroy pants, and they sold for $26.71. It's like flare and skinny right now. Those are the 2 styles that seem to be selling well for us. This was a Toys R Us brown dog with the corduroy ears and nose. Very unique. Y'all know I pick up a lot of dogs and cats now. I'm skipping on a lot of the bears. But this plush sold for $26.95. I think I picked this up at the Sasha estate sale also. It was a Tigger fanny pack plush, and it sold very, very quickly for me for $26.95. And this is why I wanted to feature the $25 and up. This is just one of my favorite finds. I picked it up at our Habitat Restore in Johnson City. I want to say I paid $5 for it because they had put it in the Easter section. I just loved it. I really had a hard time going ahead and listing it. But there's a whole series of these barnyard animals. I think there's a lamb and a pig and this duck chick. Maybe one more that if you find them, they're definitely worth picking up. This one was from 1992 and it sold for $26.95. And a Walmart dog plush. There is a whole series of these in different sizes, but they all have this little heart nose. They just really seem to be popular. This one says it was 8 inches tall and it sold for $26.95. Eden Raymond Briggs Snowman Plush. This one had a little bit of discoloration and some fuzz balls. It could have sold for a lot more if it was in better condition. Y'all, if you find him, pick him up because he tends to sell very quickly and usually for a lot of money. Eden is usually the brand that I find, but I mean, I've even sold an empty cookie tin that was Raymond Briggs on Etsy, and I want to say it was quite a bit of money. So anytime you find Raymond Briggs Snowman, grab him. This one sold for $30. Tommy Jeans men's button-up long sleeve shirt, $30.35. Not bad for a single item, clothing item. Right? I think this was just kind of had a small lot, added and added and added until I had this size lot. Probably not figures that I'm going to pick up anymore. I don't know a whole lot about Pokemon. Just took forever to sell. I keep changing the custom date anytime I add stuff to it, but I am pretty sure some of these have been listed for a really long time. And they've sold for $30.56. Now this was also from the Sasha Doll estate sale that I went to. Funny thing is I bought these 3 McDonald's bean plush that were in their original bags. And in the video when I was doing the haul, I said, man, there was another set that was not in the bags that I should have just went ahead and picked up. And then we went back. We went to that estate sale 3 times. And I got these the second time, and they actually sold before the ones that were in the bag. But these are, Ronald McDonald, Grimace, and the Hamburglar from 1996, and they sold for $31.45. I had never seen them before this sale. Jellycat, a lot of them are bread and butter. The good thing about this one, it did have its paper tag. It is a Bashful Terrier dog, and it sold very quickly, $31.45. Definitely check comps on Jellycats because a lot of times they're, like I said, they're bread and butter. This is Kellogg's Mini Beans. These came in boxes of cereal. I think I found one at the Sasha estate sale, and then I had these others. I had another lot, and I found other loose ones. And so I just decided to take down my other listing, put the sealed ones in their own listing, and then all the loose ones in their own listing. And this one sold right after I put the 4 of these together. I think Prairie Dawn and Natasha are some of the harder ones to find, and I think that's what really sold the lot of them. But they sold the 4 of them for $32. Dickies men's denim bib overalls sold for $32.14. Another Puff-A-Lump. This is the little white mouse with the stripes, and it sold for $32.36. I think this was a Ben's pickup. It was like, yeah, when we walked into the Jacksonville Ben's, it was like the first thing I saw as I walked in one of the bins, and I was like, please let it be a good day. All right, Dakin, I'm Your Little Rascal dog plush from 1977. Probably Dakin, Applause, and some Russ are just brands, especially the vintage stuff, I'm going to tend to pick up, especially if it's in good condition and clean. This one sold for $34.95. This little 7 inches. This was another pretty quick sell. I didn't know who it was at the time that I picked it up, but I tend to pick up a lot of sports plush, you know, mascots and stuff like this. This ended up being Charlotte Norm, the Niner Miner mascot, sold very quickly for $35. Rock Revival women's shorts sold for $35.71. H&M, The Simpsons hoodie jacket with Lisa sold for $35.71. It did take a year to sell. Pilcrow and the Letterpress women's shorts, $35.71. And just remember, this is March that these sales are from, and I was already starting to sell a lot of shorts. So, you know, don't be a seasonal lister unless you're just really pressed for space. As you find it, list it, because, you know, it's warm somewhere in the world, or people are getting ready for, you know, for the summer. Well, it's May here and it's been cold and rainy. Douglas Brown Frosted Rabbit Plush, $35.95. Aurora Reindeer Plush. This was 24 inches tall, from 2016, sold for $35.95. Snuggler's Pillowcase. This was a pink pig. There is tons in this series. There were, I want to say, like superheroes and just animals and all different ones. I don't see them very often, but anytime that I have found them, they've done very well for me. So it's definitely something to keep your eyes out for. This one sold very quickly, $35.95. Chosun Blue Teddy Bear from JCPenney's. Anytime I have a plush with embroidered eyes, if I can fit it in the title, I tend to, because a lot of times people are looking, you know, for the embroidered eyes, especially if they're buying it for a baby or a pet. They don't want those plastic eyes. So if you can fit it in the title, do. This one sold for $39.95. Hush Puppy Lamb Chop Cherry Lewis from 1993. I didn't know who it was when I found it. I just knew it was vintage and it looked very unique. And then when I saw the tag, I think it did say Sherry Lewis on there. This one sold, it took about 6 months, for $40. Volcom women's snowboard pants. I think we picked this up at the bins, maybe in Connecticut. These sold for $35.71. I picked these up at Jacksonville also. It was the first time I'd have found a large lot of them. I have found a couple of them here and there. I think one time in Nashville. In fact, I just sold the elephant that I had found in Nashville for like $8. But these 5 sold for $42 in less than a month. Oh, but they are from Word Party, which is a Jim Henson series. I can't remember where we picked these up, but I remember we bought several pairs of boots, and some were 5 and I think one was 10, but I don't remember which. But these are Chippewa, made in the USA, waterproof duck boots, and they sold for $40. Kelly Toy St. Bernard dog plush from 1997. Nice thing, it had its paper tags. Really nice condition. Sold for $42.46. I'm pretty sure this was in, this was in the bag that I picked up at the Sasha estate sale that had the Lego McDonald's set. Haven't sold it yet. I actually accepted an offer of like $275 for the Lego set, and then they didn't pay. So kind of disappointing, but hopefully by 4th quarter, I'll find me the perfect buyer who's going to pay. But anytime you find these, even this doesn't even have the top on it. They are called Tyco Stompers. This thing sold instantly, right after I listed. Didn't even have a chance for my sale to start. But you'll see on the bottom, they'll have Tyco and they'll have Stomper. And then there's different tops that go on them, vehicle tops. This one actually wasn't working properly. All it had was that the lights came on, but the wheels would not move. $50, just like that, instant. This also was in a bag from the Sasha estate sale. It was with other Polly Pockets, but they were all McDonald's. This was the only one that was one of the Bluebird with the people. Luckily, it had the 2 figures and 2 little rabbits to go with it. From 1993, and again, it sold almost instantly for an offer of $50. Disney Posh Paws, Tigger and Eeyore. I hadn't heard of Posh Paws, but since then I have found a couple more of them. They tend to do very well. This set of 2 sold for $50. All right, this was from that, I want to say this was from the Messy estate sale that Robert like dug a bunch of toys out of boxes that were like in a crawl space in the basement. This was Kermit. He is the hand puppet, number 860, made by Fisher-Price, and it sold for $60. I'm stalling, because maybe I got him at the Sasha sale too. I can't remember. One or the other, because they were right at the same time. All right, picked this up at an estate sale when we picked up those other Liberty wooden puzzles. This one was wooden also, but it's by a different brand called Artifacts Puzzles. Wooden also, but just not even close to the quality of the Liberty puzzles. When you look at this puzzle, you can actually see the seams of the individual pieces, where with the Liberty, not really. It was that, you know, that specific, that detailed. But not bad. This puzzle sold for $68. Pokemon Center Pokédoll plush from 2018, Lycanroc. Google Lens is your friend. Had no idea that this was going to be such a bolo. From 2018, I'm pretty sure it was just a bins pickup. And it sold, took about 5 months, $67.96. This was a book Robert picked up at an estate sale. I tend to gloss by, just pass right on by books, but Robert likes to look at them, especially when he's waiting on me. We picked up a couple of books at this particular sale, and I think this was also the one where he bought all of the bonsai books that we sold. They were high dollar, and a lot of them were signed, which was crazy. But this was an American Windsor Chairs book with the original dust jacket, and it sold for $67.46. Love Pets by Russ. Now these are little, and they're kind of, I think somebody once told me the material is kind of like chamois. They're just kind of an odd feel, not quite terry cloth, but just kind of smooth. They're small plush, and as you can see, some of them do really well. Again, I had no clue when I picked up this raccoon that it was going to be a high dollar sale. Let me show you his tag. It said right here his name was Racky. The only reason I knew it was Love Pets because I bought them, but the tags don't say it. The paper tag usually tells you that it's a Love Pets. But go in and familiarize yourself with the Love Pets. Do a search on eBay. Go into the solds and start. They're just plain plush, but they do really, really well. This raccoon sold for $69.95. Picked this up at the Habitat store, also in Johnson City. It was in a sealed, taped, ridiculous bag. I paid $10 for it. I thought I was just getting the comforter, and then I realized, you know, it had the flat sheet, the fitted sheet, the pillowcases, some fading, but not really any stains, and that was my other concern. I was going to get it, and it was going to have stains. But nope, it just took me forever to take the pictures. You know, it's just one of those, we were in the process of moving over here and we didn't have the photo board set up for me to kind of open it up and show that there weren't stains. But I finally got it listed and it sold same month, $85 offer. We picked these up at an estate sale. It was a large lot of this brand Bauer Los Angeles. These are just the dessert bowls. They're little. It was a set of 7 of them and they sold in about 2 months for $90. So we've already recouped all of our money. I've sold a couple of the bowls. I'm not sure if I've sold anything, a serving bowl. So we're definitely in the profit on them. But yeah, $90 for 7 berry bowls. And last but not least, and again, I held on to these forever. These were from the estate sale that I bought the Terry Lee dolls. Now, I've sold the baby Linda, but I've not sold the 2 dolls yet. My prices are up there. Hopefully, maybe heading into 4th quarter, I might lower them a little bit and see if I can make them gone. But the clothes and stuff had a stored smell to them. So I put them in the freezer. We have a chest freezer that didn't have anything in it. And then I forgot. And they sat in the frozen freezer. I don't know how long. A couple of months. But they smelled good when they came out. But yeah, so I had planned, the shoes weren't in there. The clothes were in there, but I had planned on waiting and the shoes just kind of got set aside. I was going to make outfits and it just all came apart. And I ended up listing a few of the clothing items individually. And then I think I ended up putting the rest of them together, making larger lots, maybe a couple lots. I don't remember. And then I thought, I'm not going to bother with the shoes. They had lots of condition issues, a lot. But they sold instantly as soon as I listed them. So obviously the person who saw these knew, you know, that it was typical condition for shoes. I think the dolls were from the 60s. But yeah, sold instantly. Just the shoes and some pantyhose and a few hangers for $100. Right, hope you guys enjoyed this. Gonna make another brand video here real soon. I hope y'all sales are picking up, but I'm gonna be sourcing soon, so I'll be in my happy place. All right, y'all, it's time to get to work. Bye.